All right. Good evening and welcome to the January 8th, 2026 regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission held at 7 p.m. in room 133 of the Brookfield Town Hall and streamed live on YouTube. Please rise if you're able to recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First, I'll have the members of the Planning and Zoning Commission present here this evening introduce themselves, starting from my left.
Anthony Pucci, Secretary.
Kurt Timmerman, Chair.
Scott Dale, Vice Chair.
Mark Loengart, Member.
Also present here this evening is our Land Use Director, Laura Barkowski, and our Recording Secretary, Elizabeth Adams. There are copies up on the table here of the agenda and on the town website. Feel free to take a copy. So, let's see. Review of the minutes, December 4th and December 11th. We'll do one at a time. December 4th, I'll accept a motion to...
A motion to accept the minutes for December 4th, 2025, the special meeting.
All right, thank you. Tony? Do I have a second? Thank you. Scott? Any modifications, amendments? I didn't see any, really. It was short. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let's see. I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes of December 11th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for December 11th.
Thank you, Tony. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Scott. Any modifications anybody see? That was also somewhat short.
Yeah.
If none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous for both of them. By the way, I want to congratulate Mark on becoming a regular member. He was appointed at the last Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Thank you. Look forward to serving.
All right, we have correspondence from 42A Hidden Brook Drive, the cell tower application. They sent it out to all the land use offices and everything. The one thing I noticed, and I had come up, and we had someone in front of the zoning commission back in November, talking about what the zoning commission can and cannot do. But one thing I did notice, and I think inland wetlands and all the land use boards would be interested in, is I wanted to ask if they could use, instead of diesel generators, and have a diesel tank there, use propane backup generators. So, you know, they're near a lake down there, Lake Winona, and an aquifer. So if they could do that and make that not a big change, that would be better for the environment. You know, what little we can do, I want to try to do as far as that cell tower goes. So I sent that off request to Steve Dunn. I didn't know, and I included town attorney. I didn't know, you know, what the avenue was, what the process was for something that the siting council is in charge of, and whether Robinson Cole would be amenable to that change. But Steve said he would add it to their request, at least to switch over. It doesn't change what it does, it just changes what's sitting there. No continued public hearings, no public hearings tonight. Old business is A7 Dorset Lane, PL-25-2. There's an application for a lot line revision. Are they here? Oh, yes. If you could come up, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Michelle Flowers. I live at 7 Dorset Lane.
All right, thank you. And explain, you know, what's happening with it.
So we're requesting a lot line revision between our property, 7 Dorset Lane, and our neighbors at 1 Music Hill.
Mm-hmm.
There are several structures, a shed, I think part of our septic system, and basketball court, which were placed based on a subdivision map, which was inaccurate. And when we got an A2 survey done several years ago, we found out that they were partially not on our property. So we've worked to come to an agreement with our neighbor to revise the lot line. Our property is existing non-conforming in the R80, I believe. Mm-hmm. Their property is conforming, and the revision to the lot line does not make their property non-conforming. We've not taken more land than that would make their property non-conforming, or change any of the setbacks or any of the zoning requirements on their property.
All right.
So I believe you have the most recent survey, which shows the revised property line.
And I was looking at that, and, do I have- oh yeah, here it is. I knew it was here somewhere. So there was a shed, that's your shed or their shed?
This shed is ours.
Okay, so they'll now be on your property.
Yeah,
guess.
I think the property line, like,
Yeah, it would,
through it.
I wasn't sure who owned what.
yeah, the shed is ours, the court, I don't know how it's labeled on there.
There was a, well, it's in microprint,
Yeah.
but there was a chicken.
bigger
Oh,
one.
yeah. Thank you.
All
coop.
of that, all of those structures are
Are yours.
ours, yes. And I believe part of the septic, the shed, and the concrete court was sliced by the actual property line,
Yeah.
we found out.
All right, and though you moved the property line, so you made your lot more conforming.
Yeah.
I guess you made the setback of the frame shed, does that stay in there?
That is staying there, and it was, the permit that we got for that, showed it as being 5 feet from what we thought was the property line. So we've actually, made that better. But we got approval for that shed, I don't know, about 10 years ago, based on it being, I believe, 5 feet from the
Oh,
lot line.
you mean the coop? Because I see a frame shed here.
Yeah, no, I think it's the frame shed.
Oh, because the original property line shows it on the other side.
Yeah, I see, man.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So I think the,
Here's,
over here. Okay, so we got approval for this shed, and on the approval that we got, it showed it as 5 feet from the lot line. And now it's,
and now it's further.
Yeah.
So you're improving,
we're improving that.
making a non-conforming more conforming,
Yeah.
even with that non-conforming still
Yes.
shed. And actually, if I defer to our planning people, what more do we look at these when we do a lot line revision?
Just, a lot of times driveways come into play. So that's one thing that we would often look at these things.
I noticed something about septic too. Was there a question where the septic was?
I think that it was placed based on the old, well, not, I'll say the old, what we thought was the property line, the correct distance.
Yes.
But when we had the survey done, it was actually too close. So now that's, again, that has
It's
improved
been
as well.
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
my only concern about this one is as of today, the sanitarian has not signed off on this lot line revision yet.
Oh,
Yeah, we don't,
They have requested more information that has not been sent.
what additional, because when we sent this in, my husband said that he hasn't heard that any other additional information was requested.
I spoke with the sanitarian today, and it appears that the information that has been requested since September.
So we added the curtain drain. We confirmed that the neighbor's septic was not, as far as I know, me being, he's on the road, that there was questions about the neighbor's septic, which I believe the town sanitarian confirmed and the septic installer confirmed are, sorry, let me look at my notes here. The septic installer and the town sanitarian confirmed that the fields are not impeding or coming into play, and there's still enough room, and that the curtain drain is on their property. Those were the two issues that I was aware of that they were looking for. He was not given any other information about.
I have to speak with the town sanitarian to make sure everything is settled. All I know is that it has not been finally approved, and when I spoke with him, he was still looking for information today.
Okay. I mean, can we get a conditional approval so we don't have to come back to the hearing, provided we get that information to the sanitarian?
I mean, you don't necessarily have to come back if our only final thing is to get that sign off. So we can continue until we get the sign off. You don't have to be here for us to make an approval if we get that, if that's the only piece of information we think we need. Yeah.
Can I just get my husband on the phone? He's on the road, and he may be able to speak to if he was able to,
Because I'm not the sanitarian, so I can't.
but he might be able to say if he spoke to him.
I spoke with the sanitarian
Okay.
myself, so until I have the sanitarian.
So, I mean, we submitted this, when could we expect to get his comments? Because He said that we put the information on there. Like, that's what we requested the extension for, was because we were waiting to get the information he asked for.
Well, it's my understanding that the new plan was submitted as of Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a short period of time with the holiday
Right.
week, but I do know that he reviewed it, and it's my understanding that he doesn't have all the information that he needs to sign off on it, otherwise he would have, because I did ask him, saying this is on our agenda for tonight.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, there's nothing you're waiting to do?
We are. We have a March deadline with the court to get this filed.
Oh, to get it filed.
Yeah, because it started off many years ago with like a lawsuit.
Oh, you-
So we have a deadline in March to get this resolved.
All right, well, we have, like 3 meetings between now and 2 meetings. The 22nd and 1 in February.
Right.
I think we can easily get that,
I would think by the
Okay.
22nd.
yeah.
So we would not have to come back if we satisfy the sanitarian.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the only thing, I mean, I don't see anything else.
Yeah, I
Does
mean-
any commissioners see anything aside from this one outstanding issue? So I think we will just continue it, awaiting that last sign-off from the
Sure.
sanitarian. And then you wouldn't have to be here for that.
Okay. So if we can speak to him next week and find out what he needs, we can,
Yeah.
Get that
I mean, he's
resolved.
gonna be in tomorrow too, right?
yeah, okay. I'll
So
have,
I would have someone call him directly.
Oh, yeah, I'll have my husband give him a
figure
call.
out where the missing piece is.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, otherwise, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. You're making a non-conforming a lot more conforming. I don't know if you were upzoned or there was zoning when this happened back in.
I think the division map was 1960.
Oh, that was right around when zoning came in.
Yeah. So I think that the new survey says that we were not, it was pre-zoning.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll accept a motion to continue this till the January 22nd.
I will make a motion to continue 42A hidden.
No.
Oh, sorry.
That's-
Sorry, I was gonna say, I didn't check it off, I apologize. I'm gonna make a motion to continue 7 Dorset PL 25-2, application for a lot line revision.
Yeah.
To our next meeting,
January 22nd.
January 22nd.
Second. Thank you, Scott. Any more discussion? No, so we're only waiting for that one sign off from the sanitarian. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, I want
Well, that's mine.
I want my man.
This?
Yes.
All right, the next one, 7A, 4 Broadview Road and Hillendale Road, PL 25-5. Hello, state your name and address for the record,
Nick
please.
Rienzi, 92 Loomis Avenue, Yonkers, New York.
Okay,
I had purchased this property on Broadview to build a home. We want to build a one-story residence, because that's where we plan on retiring. And in doing so, after we did all our the engineer did some calculations, he found out that the footprint of the home was about 400 square feet too large. And in doing so, I own both properties. I own Hillendale and I own Broadview. So we prepared a map taking more than enough property from the property on Hillendale to add to Broadview, and it keeps both lots still conforming. And I basically want to keep Hillendale vacant anyway. I just want it for my privacy. So
why was the house too big? Was it a coverage issue?
what happened was it was 400 square feet larger than, after they did the request to do all the drainage calculations, the engineer, the architect didn't catch it, and neither did the structural engineer who did all the design and the rafters. To go back and to redo that would take, months on top of months and a lot of money. So we decided that the easiest way to go is just to take 400 or 6,000 square feet from the back property and add it to Broadview.
Right. And that was for drainage. Do you have an infiltration system you put in?
We have.
Oh, all right.
There's going to be all the leaders, roofs, driveway, everything is going to be contained in a system underground.
Yeah.
So there's no runoff
Right.
off the property.
And that was the main issue.
That was the main issue.
And is that infiltration system gonna be on the main property or in that little
Nope,
section?
it's gonna be on Broadview.
Broadview, okay.
Yep. So there'll be nothing added to, there'll be no development on the Hillendale property,
Yeah.
the back property.
Setbacks kind of disallow that anyway, I guess.
Well, you still have enough room. It's wide enough to put a home in.
Oh, here,
It's-
yes, I'm thinking
it's-
that little
it's
section
plenty-
that you're
plenty
carving
wide
out.
enough.
Yeah, the proposed
Yeah.
extra section.
It's plenty wide.
All right, well, since there's nothing existing, I see there's, you've been constructing, your construction's ongoing on the Broadview.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doing a little site work, just moving some material around.
Yeah, I could see that the pile was over here, and I'm like, wow, their neighbors must be nice.
They're very nice. Yeah, very nice.
All right,
It's a nice little family area.
other commission members have some questions, concerns?
Well, the only question I have, although I think it's kind of moot, since he owns both properties,
Yeah.
the cutout of this, what happens though if he decides that at some time or at some point that property gets sold?
Well, you can actually build here. Here's the setbacks, the 30-foot setbacks based on the zone.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have much to build, but that's your construction, right?
Right, no, but that's what I'm saying.
Constraints.
But that's why I said it's kind of mute.
Yeah.
So-
Oh, yeah.
In this area, we cut out because this is the location where the well goes, and you need a certain perimeter around it, so not to affect
Yep,
that area.
sure.
Right.
And the other plan already has, the original, when I bought the property, has a septic here already designed with a house location, pretty much in that location anyway.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's kind of dual.
Okay, that's fine. Then, yeah, like I said,
It could be your in-law house.
I don't want anybody around me.
I'm good.
Okay. Scott, Mark, anything? Just, nope. All right.
No, I don't think so. This is the driveway here. I think I've driven by this here, the driveway here. Any issues with any kind of runoff or anything?
What's that?
With this is the driveway.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no issues right now,
Okay.
so.
The property that is being built is on the right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
The driveway is not, it doesn't have an easement on this flag part here, does it?
Which driveway?
Uh,
That will be,
your-
this will be the driveway for this property,
Yes.
access this, and this will be the driveway.
Oh, you're coming in
access
next.
this
Oh,
way.
yes, of course, okay. All right. Well,
So now you understand why my question about the property, though it was moot, I figured coming into this way, that turn, would there be enough space?
Yeah.
But
That's a
again,
50-foot area for a 10-foot driveway. It's-
right, that's what I said.
Yeah, radius.
I still
Radius.
think it was moot. That's why I wasn't hung up on it.
Yep.
all right. I'll accept a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve for Broadview Road and Hillendale Road, PL 25-5, application for lot line revision.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Mark. Any more discussion on it? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, unanimous. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, board. Appreciate it.
Let's see, for 7B, this is a special, the only thing we're doing tonight is setting the public hearing date. 3/17, he wants to do a, yep, he wants to do a childcare facility, which in this zone, which is a C2 zone, you need, or even in C1, you need a special permit. So that's why they're coming in front of us. That place already exists, that Taekwondo, you know, it's where O'Connor's and all that is.
Okay.
So if someone wants to do the motion for that,
I make a motion for 317 Federal Road, Z-25-68, for MK Care Kids for PB Federal LLC, special permit with design application for Taekwondo studio and childcare facility. Public hearing to be set January 22nd, 2026.
right? Do I have a second?
Second?
All right, thank you, Scott. So I don't think we'll have a lot during that day. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Review and approval of draft combined zoning planning and zoning fee schedule. You just mushed them together, right? So there's nothing different than the ones we came up with?
Increased some of the planning fees, just slightly. They hadn't been revisited in a while.
Oh, they didn't revisit them like we did ours?
No.
No.
All right.
Yeah, we're doing POCD.
Yeah, you guys were busy. Where are they?
I think it's the lot line revision.
Subdivision, re-subdivision, recut property swap? All right. What did they used to be? Like the subdivision, the lot line, 350 for subdivision?
You're gonna put me on the spot, Mr. Chair. I don't remember what they used to be. I think the up to $50 though,
Oh, all right.
roughly.
Yep, yep. All right. I didn't notice, were we using new applications or not?
We're getting there.
Well, okay, just wondering. All right, looks good to you, Scott?
Yeah.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion to approve the proposed changes
Motion to approve the proposed changes.
to the, all right, and do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Scott, thank you, Tony. All in favor of the new zone fee schedule, say aye.
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 Great, great, thank you, unanimous. The next one is the regulation review, 7D. A copy is in your package here. And so Laura, you had some concerns about
I
this.
did have some concerns. Do you want me to go back to this though, so we can handle?
Yeah, sure. We can, if you want, we can table this until the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
In fact, why don't we make a motion to table until the end, 7D, 8A, and then we'll jump right to 9? Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, do I have,
I make a motion to table 7D, 8A to the end of the meeting.
all right, and do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Scott. All in favor to moving them around?
Aye.
All right. So 9, this is the Tyke planning, or Tyke planning for Aquamation. If you'd like to come up and describe your process.
Sure. So my name is Michael D'Amato. I'm a principal with the Tyke Planning and Policy Group. Our office is on East Main Street in Vernon. I have some stuff that I want to hand out if you want to take a look, and we can kind of go through it together. I didn't send it to you.
Just so you know, I had a copy of the alkaline hydrolysis as an option for families printed out for everybody here.
Okay.
Is that the one you're going to hand out?
Nope.
Okay.
I
We'll
put
take
together a
some
couple
more.
of slides just to kind of walk you through it.
Sure.
And this is Ms. DeJandro. She's
Hi,
the
nice to meet
hopeful business owner.
Sure.
So she's going to answer maybe some more of the technical questions.
I'll take that one and for
You want an extra?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wasn't sure how many people, so I have a lot more. I can leave some if you think others would want them, or
I'll take a few extra copies.
3 or 4. So I think we kind of have two parts to what we want to talk about. The first is the what, and the second is then the where. Maybe there's a third, which is the how. So what we're proposing, or what we want feedback from the commission on, is the proposed use, which is aquamation. There's the alkaline hydrolysis is the more technical term, also referred to as green cremation, and it's essentially an alternative to flame-based cremation, what we think about when we hear that term. So the process, as you'll see on page 1, the process achieves the same result as flame cremation, but it does so without the burning of fossil fuels, emitting greenhouse gases, and uses substantially less energy, and doesn't emit other harmful minerals or chemicals such as mercury. So we're here before you because we see a couple of different avenues for how this could shake out from a permitting perspective, and we're hoping to talk to you about that and get your feedback. There's a couple of options, and I think that there's sort of merit to each of them. So on the second page, I've got a couple of the regulations. Just again, as I was framing this for myself, they're your regulations. I'm sure you know them. But the first one, 1.4, is really what brings us to you, because as your regulations, you have the right to interpret them. So we're sort of asking you to give that clarification. And then I combined the other sections just into a single place so that we didn't have pages of documents we were looking at. So the permitted uses table and parking space requirements. So the categories that we think may be an option for how this use ultimately goes forward could be sort of the first one under retail sales and service, undertaking and funeral homes. Those are special permits, and I've listed the pertinent parking standard there. And I guess the reason for that is sometimes when you're, at least in my mind, when I'm trying to figure out how uses fit and what may be appropriate and how the use itself will be operated on the lot and whether that all will come together in a way that makes sense, the parking generation is another way to determine if you think things will work. If you think you're going to operate a movie theater and they tell you you only need 10 parking spaces, right, it's probably not a good fit. So I was using that as another barometer for whether or not we thought this might make sense. And so I kind of moved to the next one. Another use category that you guys have is the office uses. So they have medical and dental offices and laboratories less than 5,000 square feet, which is a site plan use. And then the last one, industrial, and under general industrial, you have, which is also site plan use, parking calculation of 1 per 1,000. And it's not mentioned in the use table, but in the parking table, it talks about, I think it uses the term processing or something along those lines. It's sort of obviously dealing with things that are coming in, something minor is happening to what's coming in, and then it's coming out. Mm-hmm. And so this kind of gets to my comment about the parking standards, because the operation that they intend to conduct is not a funeral home. They don't, unless the town feels that the uses need to be together, they don't have a desire to have people gather there in large quantities to conduct services or have a lot of people. They would be providing this service to area funeral homes. So when you start looking at undertaking in funeral homes and start looking at, based on the approximate 5,000 square foot calculation, 25 parking spaces, that's going to generate a whole lot of impervious surface on the property that they don't need, because they may have a couple of people there.
Approximately like 5 cars per day.
Yeah.
In and out would be the max.
You're talking employees and people
Yeah.
that will be bringing things. So the use, may be most similar, but again, is going to sort of put them in a position of having to create more pavement than they need, and I'm sure you guys would want. Mm-hmm. So we have the medical and dental offices. Again, there are a lot of similarities to what's happening between those uses, but again, 20 parking spaces, not something that they would need. So when I was going through and saw under the industrial category, the sort of that processing, it feels a little peculiar to call kind of what's happening here that, but again, is more appropriate from how the site would ultimately lay out. So I'm going to go to the second page or third page to talk about the property, because obviously that's another important component to this. So the property that they're interested in is just across the street here almost at 71 Pocono Road. It's a little under 5 acres. It is very peculiar in a lot of ways, as you will see. I pulled your GIS map on the right. It is in the Industrial 1 zone and is part of the height overlay. It is served by water and sewer utilities and is on your POCD's future land use map as remaining industrial. So the permitting path that I showed on the previous page is reflective of something that was in the industrial zone based upon everything that you have in your regulations at that point. And lastly, because I think in the last page, what is also important is ultimately how this site would be laid out. So staff did some digging for us and was gracious enough to provide us some documents that were already in the file for the property. And so I kind of took the layout and marked it up to give you an idea. So what you are seeing is fairly close to being to scale, as close as I would say, not being an engineer. And it gives you shows the aerial, shows you a 6,000 square foot building, so larger than what we're talking about here. A handful of parking spaces, an access drive to get to the building, and then the wetlands as they were delineated with the upland review. So again, we don't want to create more impervious anywhere, particularly, in an area that is adjacent to wetlands. So this is a sort of a contextual representation of how we envision the site to work and to reflect their needs, without creating something that isn't necessary. So we're here to get some feedback. Obviously, the last option would be for the commission to decide that the use is not a fit of any of these, and then we would have to pursue the text amendment route. Aside from that being, another application and a longer process. As someone who staffs many land use commissions, one of the things that I always sort of grimace about is adding more regulations to the book for a use which you will likely not have more than one of. So you'll add this use into the table and never revisit that line again. So our hope is that there's enough of a similarity between what you have here that we can come in and still go through the process and meet all of those other standards, but not have to sort of create another line in that table. But obviously would defer to what you think is most appropriate.
And so for the commission, so this is like water cremation rather than fire. And when I first heard this, I thought, that certainly would be an accessory use to a funeral home. But and so I wanted to get the commission's opinions on how they felt as far as that, which would be the retail sales undertaking funeral homes, because many funeral homes, well, not many, some have cremation facilities, whether fire or water. And then with the other two uses, they thought, is there space in there? Is that, for me, actually thinking of this as a business to business, and an industrial processing facility, as ghoulish as that sounds, that's basically what it is. And if they don't want to have the public there, there's no viewing or anything, it's not a funeral home. I mean, I would say, for me, that's not a bad fit for that. That's my opinion. But
Are you entertaining customers in any way at that location? Would that be what you're doing?
Ideally, no.
Okay.
If the town decided that the funeral home route would be better, we could add a small chapel or a small viewing room, because there are certain religions that prefer to witness. But even if we had to accommodate that, it would be 3 to 4 immediate family members for an hour.
Who would be your customers? Would they be other funeral
Area
homes,
funeral homes,
right?
yes.
Not
Yes.
those in need of that service necessarily.
Correct. So the idea is not to compete with Brookfield Funeral Home. We know them. They've been here for a long time. And this would be an accessory to them. It would just be another option, because the closest facility is a flame crematory that's over 25 miles away. So this would keep family members and things like that closer to home. And it would give the surrounding funeral homes an option that's environmentally friendly, it's family owned, and it's by people that they know, because my brother's a 25-year funeral director in the city of Danbury, and we're first generation, so we want to own something and pass something along to our children too. So we're looking to stay in the area. My brother lives in Brookfield. I'm trying to move down here as well, and I'm getting out of a law enforcement career. So that's what we're hoping to do, and hoping to keep it a very small, local, and direct service for people that are already in business.
The only other thing that I would mention is that this is not a intensive water user. This is not something where there's all kinds of things leaving the building and being sent to your water treatment facility. They've visited other operations and have water samples which they will be providing to your water department, so they can see what would be coming out of it. It is neutral, but does have chemicals or qualities which are beneficial to the water pollution control process, but it's sort of think of it almost like a closed loop system. It's not like they're using a lot, and then when they've gone through one process, it goes out in a pipe, and the next one comes through, and it's really intensive in that way. Anything that leaves or is left over at the end of the process can also be removed through a third party like transporter or service that would come and pick those things up. So there's sort of multiple options depending on how the folks in the water department want to handle that. But this is not, I think a lot of people think, oh, you're water-based, and then you start kind of thinking this through. Is there going to be a lot of weird stuff leaving the building or using a lot of water? Mm-hmm. It's also in the aquifer, and so that's not the case with this.
Yeah, I noticed when I read the other pamphlet
Mm-hmm.
that I had a copy of, it was informative as to what the process is and what's left over.
So there's no DNA left in the system. There's no, it's a neutral pH. It gets rid of chemotherapy drugs, embalming fluid, contamination, diseases and things like that. So it's the only process of disposition that can handle tuberculosis and things like that that stay on a body during and after death.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's approved for the state of Connecticut. There is one in Manchester that's already functioning, and this is what the Connecticut Funeral Directors Association is moving toward as well, if that helps.
Question that I've got for you guys.
Sure.
Knowing, and again, I'm playing within the confines of what we were talking about, going the industrial, again, business to business type setup. What do you think the capacity is going to be and possibly growth? And the only reason I'm asking is, have you factored in X amount of
Like equipment?
events today, or in 3 years we think we're going to be at
Like a volume.
30% more capacity, or what happens if you hit that threshold? Your capacity's done, and then what?
Absolutely. So the current building would, the ideal would be to start with 1 to 2 processing machines.
Mm-hmm.
There would be room to expand out to 5 to 6 before there would be any change in footprint.
Okay.
Is the equipment that you would use only what's shown here as far as like the equipment to?
So there's several different companies that produce the equipment. There is another tank so when the liquid is removed from that system, it's put in a holding tank and tested before it's released into the water system. So there's a layer of accountability for, getting it to the point where whatever the water system determines is the correct pH or the correct temperature to be released into the water system. Or if the water department says absolutely not, it can't go into the water system at all, there is a holding tank that can be added so that it could be removed by like a medical company as well.
Okay.
So it does not necessarily have to enter the water system, the wastewater system, but it can. But there's a holding tank as well.
Which would be inside the building.
Yes, everything is contained in the building, and like if the city preferred there be absolutely no signage, we can do that. It would be a very discreet, I'm sure you've driven by crematories that you have no idea are there, and those release, emissions into the environment. Right now, the way that these things are built to look like, they're barns and houses, and you would never even know. And that's what we're going with. We would put together the look of the facility. Can look like a barn, it could look like a house, it could look like a shop where someone drives in and it's just a square building. That's really up to you guys.
I think you mentioned this has complete oversight at the state level from a licensing and inspection. You have to go through and get certified to be operated, and the state is moving towards prohibiting flame-based cremation, so this will be the only option. And so, like I think she mentioned that certain religions really look to this, and this is sort of an approved or allowable alternative And so as the more harmful flame-based cremation becomes something that can't happen anymore, this will be sort of the direction. But yeah, there will be nothing external, either in the ground or outside. There's nothing, no tank, no holding out, being placed in anywhere. It's no spills or anything, like very, very discreet and completely contained.
And if you're in an aquifer zone, we would have, spill areas, just
Yeah.
like for oil or something else. If you had them, we'd have containment systems in case there was a spill.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think makes a little bit of sense from a sort of an ongoing, right, buildings are in the place that they're constructed for many years. And so going in the route of looking at this in more of an industrial use and having a site development that aligns with that use means that the building will hopefully continue to function in a way that complies with the zone, because it's an industrial zone. Get an industrial building with a lot of parking spaces, it starts to appeal to people that don't have industrial uses. And so I think long-term, when she hits the lottery and moves away, and if the building were to go to another user, it may not be sort of in alignment with what you want to have happen there, because it kind of would be more attractive to another use because it's got a lot of additional parking or whatever. So we're trying to keep this so that the building functions based upon what you guys have sort of envisioned for the zone.
Two questions I have for the commission. What do you think of having a cremation facility in town? Does that bother you, or is that fine? And the second, what do you think is the best fit as far as our?
Can I just clarify one more point that I think you touched on it? So are there hazardous materials going into the facility?
There is an alkaline chemical, so we would have to have licensing for that as well. That we have the flammable containers for. There would be sprinkler systems. We have eye wash stations. There's all the safety equipment, and it also gets inspected by the state at least twice a year. So it's a very heavily regulated industry. Everyone has to be licensed. We have cameras. We have a smart system that would tell us when the machine malfunctions, or if the power goes out, or if there's some sort of fire or failure of the building. So there's all this redundancy built into the system so that to mitigate that damage.
And then
that
hazardous
helps.
materials going out of the building?
No,
Okay.
no, they would be rendered due to that chemical
Okay.
reaction.
Yeah, thanks.
Does this process create like a significant risk for fire or explosion or?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. The biggest risk is in the actual alkaline solution that's coming into the building. But there's a local chemical plant that provides it in Brookfield. So, the biggest issue would be transporting it, getting it off the truck and into the metal storage facility. And that would have, that has its own sprinkler system built right in. And it's like heat initiated.
Like a
Oh,
halide.
You know, like if
activated.
it, yeah, that's what I couldn't, I'm sorry. If it senses heat, it melts a piece and it disperses. So we pretty much have everything built in that could possibly go wrong. I know there's always a chance of something, but
And
it's
that's low
not an
quantity?
explosive material either, if
Oh.
that's,
Yeah, I was only concerned about that. I mean, obviously anyone would be concerned about that, but like there's also along the railroad tracks behind the property, a high pressure gas pipeline. So I just
Right.
wanted to make sure that, an existing risk wouldn't cause issues if, but, okay.
This is similar to Spectra Oil, which is just north of Four Corners. They just came in to do some changes for because they're in the aquifer. What was it for?
Do you mean Motorex?
Motorex, yeah, it used to be Spectra Oil. So they mix oils and stuff, but they also have to have all these containment systems and safety systems because they're right next to the Still River, just as this side is.
Okay.
What I believe the applicant is looking for is whether we're opposed or not, whether we see that there's a fit with some of these uses that they have outlined. And after listening to what they want, which is they don't want a retail center, basically. They want a business to business. To me, I think an industrial processing plant would be the best fit in this case, and the least intrusive and the least impactful as far as, you know, building and as far the wetlands too.
Yeah.
Being right next to the
No, it
wetlands.
certainly sounds like
I guess
industrial.
the other piece to this would be is, and you guys may or may not know this, I know Brookfield has the one funeral home in town, but in the area, Brookfield, Newtown, Bethel, maybe Brewster, New Milford, I'm sure there are multiple funeral homes. How many of them actually have crematoriums?
Zero.
Okay, I was gonna
So-
say, or are they basically going to others to have that
So
performed?
there is no crematory within 25 miles. The closest one is in Oxford, Connecticut, and they're getting ready to close. They're, the guy's ready to retire. The next closest one is in Stanford. So you're looking at licensed funeral directors from this area driving a minimum of 50 miles round trip twice, because they have to go and drop off and then pick up.
Pick up.
So, we're hoping that it's an attractive thing for them as well, and that the more people that hear that there's a less environmental impact, the better. We're trying to make the building as environmentally friendly as possible. We're interested in, you know, reclaiming some of that land for flowers and things like that as well. But like, to just give a different option. It might not be for you, it might not be for everyone, but to have something local, I think would be a bonus to those local funeral homes without taking away from their work.
No, agreed, that's the
Because
reason.
they're already
Yeah,
outsourced.
I was gonna say, there's a need. So, yeah, I'm not opposed.
Sure.
Now, assuming that all things considered, assuming like all the zoning regulations align, like could an existing funeral home, if they wanted to retrofit this equipment, if they have the space, would it be an easy thing for them to do?
So if they would have to do the same thing we are and apply for an accessory use or a new building. And most of the ones that are in this area have been here 100 years. They're in neighborhoods, and they're typically built in two-family homes. So the upstairs is the home that the funeral director lives in, and the bottom is their business. They could, most of them are maxed out on space, and they're in areas where it just doesn't fit. And it's also, it's a time-consuming process. It's something that is gonna take away from all those other services that they offer.
Okay.
And I think the ability to retrofit an old building with the fire suppression and the things that they would have to do is probably a little bit cost prohibitive for them if they've got a really old building and they have to put in all these fail safes and all the smart systems. That becomes very challenging in those really old buildings. So, you know, it seems to me like something that is,
Well, it would also impact the business too. They'd have to
Right.
shut the business down to
They would also-
retrofit it.
Yeah, and they would also have to be willing to invest
Right.
several $1,000,000 into new technology, and that's pretty much gonna be the most cost prohibitive area.
Okay.
All right, so I think, you know, we all feel that it would be a use that would be to work out,
great.
especially the industrial area.
Okay, so we appreciate it. We will get started on the application requirements and pulling all the materials together and getting things back before you as quickly as we can. But we appreciate the feedback and your comments and transparency, and we'll hopefully get this thing rolling sooner versus later.
All right, and Laura, would this be a aquifer application as well? Since they're right there next to the Still River, or is that an aquifer on that
Actually,
side?
Look at the zone to
Okay.
be 100% sure.
It is in the zone. It doesn't conflict with any of the provisions in my reading of it. So, but so we'd have to go through the process to at least get it done. But it didn't conflict with anything. There's nothing outside, and you know.
Yeah, I have to say, Bethel tried to put in a flame-based one.
Flame-based, correct.
And there was, I think the main thing that I read about the uproar was the emissions coming out. Because
So-
people were concerned about the emissions out the stack.
Yes, and it was in an industrial area,
Yeah, they
but
finished this Jake one.
they didn't own the property as well. So there was some conflict with that as well, but we're hoping to do something a little different here, if that's okay.
Yeah.
One other question I had is, does this equipment generate like a significant amount of noise, or is it?
No, not at all.
Okay.
So about the same as a regular dishwasher.
Oh, wow.
So you would, if you walked by it, the building, you wouldn't hear anything. There's absolutely nothing that's coming out, so you're not gonna have an odor. You're not going to have any kind of pipes that are releasing even water vapor, so you're just not gonna see that.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stuart.
And we appreciate you moving us up
Sure.
on the agenda.
Yep.
That's
That's
just
a
as
long
valuable
ride.
as this whole conversation, without knowing what, you know, what's next. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right, back to 7D, regulation review, 310.
So I included a memo in everyone's packet that also has some photographs. The long and the short of it is recently we've had an uptick in the complaints of recreational vehicle parking. So our zoning enforcement officer and I went out and we decided to drive around and see how many actual sites comply with the regulations as they are written. I only included a few pictures in your packet, but in the span of about 15 minutes driving near the Shores area, we got a whole
Wait, we
bunch
got
of
pictures?
additional
Of course.
violations. So it was my idea to go to the commission. The first picture on this one is actually the one we received one of the complaints about. That is also one we received a complaint about. And then
Are
I
they
think-
mostly boats?
It's mostly boats. There are some jet skis, there are some RVs.
I'm not even sure how this one's supposed to be.
Which one?
Some of them
Is it
don't
upside down?
comply. The major thing is even when they're in designated parking spaces or designated drives, they do not comply with the setbacks in the areas. According to the zoning regulations, they do need to comply in addition to be in a designated drive area. Also, it does have a limit of one per house, and as you notice, there's sometimes multiple boats, multiple RVs, multiple recreational vehicles.
Is there a zone that the preponderance of them are? Is it like the R7s or are they in R40s?
They're in both, to be honest with you. And I also, my other concern is if we're allowing them to park in R7s with it being in a designated drive, how is that not fair for the R40s?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I do understand they have room, but one of the issues I'm noticing also is the steepness of some of the driveways in the area. I understand why they would want to park their boat closer to the road and not go up their driveway if they have no turnaround.
Correct.
It's just something I wanted the commission to look at because we've kind of put a hold on enforcement at the moment till we have a better understanding of what the intent of the regulation was. And because the Shores is
Look,
it's
I'm
ground
looking.
zero.
Look, I know. I'm looking at the pictures.
You
I'm like,
got
I
the
know this
thing.
house. I know this house.
Yeah.
I know that house. Yeah. In fact, I was going to ask that. That's going to be my question to you. Although I guess it's going to go to the commission as well.
I think the biggest, well, by the reading of it and stuff, was like RVs, especially like you can't be living in them.
Which
But it talks about trailers too, whether it's
does
a
talk
trailer,
about
trailer,
recreational
trailer,
trailers.
trailer boats, boat trailers. I would say both because but it's a problem for the homeowner too. It's like, what do we, tell them, move all your boats to where?
Storage.
Yeah.
I mean, and if so, I just want to make sure we're consistent on enforcement. So in R80, we're enforcing the same, because as it's written,
Yeah.
it's any residential zoning district.
Yeah.
And that's where I was going to go with this. The Shores, and not exclusively to the Shores, even though I know that we are the epicenter, but any of the
Lake communities.
lake communities or private communities, how does that, again, now that, does that cross the rule?
What does Candlewood Shores have?
Don't they have their own
Regs?
They have a
enforcement or
homeowners
such things?
association. I wonder if they.
I'm going to table that.
They can be more prohibitive than us. They cannot allow things that we
Yeah.
do not allow, though. And as of right
No,
now,
no.
they are allowing
No,
things.
no, so the reason why I'm saying that, this isn't allowed, but it's accepted.
Ah,
Yeah.
So this is and again, the reason why I say that, and this is why not exclusively to the Shores, I'm saying all, Little Nometh, Candlewood
Yeah.
Lake Club, all of those. It's a private beach community. They're supposed to enforce stuff, but can they? Through their regulations, they have regulations, but there is no mechanism for any of them to actually
You don't have
Enforce
a zoning
it.
enforcement officer?
correct. because it's
But the
private.
town can.
But again, now it's private versus public, and now and that's my question to the land use director. How does it apply or does it not
I
apply?
would say it still applies because
part
there
of
are a
town.
lot in
Okay.
Brookfield. Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree, but that's
So
the argument.
they might have the same rules, just like you, with the short-term regulation, you have the same.
Yep, I
has the
agree.
same rules as the town, but the town will enforce, and has the enforcement authority to go in there.
You would think though they would have the more interest to do so, right? Because it is their neighborhood.
Look,
right? It is
I'm-
their
I'm-
neighbors.
I live there.
Mm.
I gonna
But
say I
I know
agree
they
or
can
I
be-
disagree.
They can be strict another way.
This is being videotaped, so I'm gonna leave it alone. There is a lot of things that could be done. There are a lot of things that should be done. And there are a lot of things that get pushed onto the town or removed from the town at their discretion. And again, not just the shores, it would be any lake community that whether it's the Candlewood Shores Tax District, whether it's an HOA for Candlewood Lake Club or Lake Willow-Nomath. Again, however you structure them, that becomes again, the communities are living between the lines. When it's private and convenient for them, they're private. When they want to enforce it, it's the town. And it's very easy to point the finger in either direction to where stuff like this happens all the time. And worse, because of the shores being as densely populated with minimal space, that becomes the problem.
Yeah.
They don't even, like, in other areas, parking. You shouldn't park on both sides of the street.
Yeah.
If you're having a get-together, have everybody park on one side, so if emergency vehicles need to get through, they can. Well, that's enforced in everywhere except for
Yeah.
private lake communities. People park where they want to, and you have to go around it.
So I look at this and it's like, I mean, this is not a small problem. And, Fran would need someone just on boats, just to go around. And that becomes a problem, so they have to be like, well, where am I gonna put my boat? And there might not even be enough boat storage in the area.
Correct.
I mean, I look at Echo Bay and Candlewood, and the other one, Candlewood East, they're full. It
They're
looks
full.
like to me.
And Candlewood Lake, or Echo, built a huge
The boat, yeah.
dry space that's full.
Yeah.
And Brookfield Marina is going to be building their new facility,
Yeah.
but even that's still full. Lastly, the question that I got, what deems two boats? And there's a reason why I'm asking. You can have a single trailer with two jet skis on it. Does that constitute one or two?
Good question.
Now, I'm also going to throw the wild card. There are people that have the two jet skis and the boat next to each other,
I
which
think there's one in the picture, actually.
which throws it off. But I think that would be something that we would need to regulate, because a single trailer with two jet skis on it, I think, still in essence covers what a boat would cover if you have a single boat.
I think one trailer, because you can't be any wider than whatever you
Exactly.
want on the road.
Right.
So, and you can have, from the reading of this, an extra trailer that's empty.
That's empty, yes.
Yeah.
An accessory trailer, right.
Now, how bad is this problem like in the warmer weather? Is it?
Oh, they're all in the water.
No,
Oh, no, I'm saying like
no.
not everyone has the
No.
piece for the dock, so do they keep
He's
it?
right.
Well, yeah,
It's
they
the same
trailer.
problem. The same problem exists in the summer. The only difference is it's the empty trailer versus
Oh.
the trailer in the boat. And there are some people that don't dock their boats,
Yeah.
so they take the trailer, go down, put the boat in the water, and then they bring it back and put it on their driveway or in front of their house.
Yeah.
So the weather is irrelevant.
And then also the boats aren't covered then too, and then there can be standing water and then
Correct.
mosquitoes and
Correct. Again, now it's whoever takes care of it. Some put covers on them, some don't.
some aren't covered in the winter, I guess.
Right. Again, it's whatever. Yeah.
And that really was about a maybe 10, 15-minute drive just.
What are you
from-
talking about?
Yeah.
3 of the pictures are literally
On the same
the
road.
first 3 houses.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, have there been complaints have there been a lot of complaints about people's boats? Like, for example, in Candlewood Shores?
Actually, surprisingly, no.
because they probably, so many people do it, it becomes an accepted practice.
Like I said, that's why
But,
it becomes.
so this is the sort of thing where we used to have a lot of variances coming from the ZBA for sheds and everything, and where mostly these undersized lots. And it became obvious we need a zone, and that's why the R15 exists now, because those were smaller lots under a half acre. And so we relaxed the setbacks, so we didn't have to have this deluge of variances come through for small lots.
Right.
So the same question might be asked, well, maybe on a tighter zone like R7s, should the setbacks be less? I mean, what are the setbacks 10 feet anyway? And,
Some of these don't even comply with that.
No.
yeah,
Because
they're
they
right up against the
already-
fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them, I think I have a picture of one that's in an R40 zone where it looks like a boat that's totally stored appropriately, it's on a driveway. It doesn't comply with setbacks.
Yeah, because,
But it looks totally fine when you drove by it and you went see it and be like, oh, this is a gross offender of this regulation.
yeah.
So it just came to be time, once we're getting I almost said boatload, of complaints about it.
The funny part about this is you got all the boats. What
I
you,
got-
what
I
you
have
don't
some-
know, what you don't have is the cars on the lawns doing the same thing.
Okay, we address one regulation at a
Well,
time.
yeah. So, and I understand why you wouldn't want a boat, closer than the setback, because it's like a structure.
It's like a structure,
know.
and I understand both sides of the argument. People don't want to necessarily view boats, but a lot of people in this community do have boats, so it kind of led us to, I don't want to enforce in an R80 zone very strictly adhering to the regulations, but knowing in an R7, they don't have to comply with it, although the regulation is written exactly the same.
Yeah.
I don't like inconsistencies in enforcement. So
Um,
we brought it to you.
So, did you have some thoughts, like different rules for different zones depending on size, or?
We could do different rules for different zones. My other thought would definitely be which components of the regulation do you like? Like, for example, I like to be in a designated drive. I don't like
Yeah.
boats being on the grass necessarily, or a designated parking area. Sometimes that's as simple as someone putting down a little gravel extension on their driveway. Sometimes that's done nicely, sometimes, some of those boats are pictured on grass.
Mhm.
So, first kind of narrowing down what you like with the regulation.
I like the designated drive, but what I fear is that your whole front yard become designated drive. They might argue it's gravel, it's pervious, but it's still, it doesn't, where's the green?
Well, that opens up a side problem, because depending on the lot and what you put down, then you have runoff.
Well, yeah, it's impervious, and you have, so that's why we have the coverage requirements for residents, or everything really, is to prevent that problem, create runoff onto other properties. So if you have, and I have to look again, is gravel defined as pervious or impervious? So that's pervious, so it's just gonna go through, let's hope. But it doesn't look good. I mean, they could gravel their whole front lawn and just park cars all over the place, but that's not what we want, or boats.
Well, we have a maximum of 6 cars, but we have no maximum, it looks like we have a maximum of 1 boat.
Yeah.
But that's
But it's not
definitely
enforced.
not being enforced, and I don't know how practical it is. I don't know if that's something, again, the commission wants to revisit. A lot of these places had a jet ski and a boat.
Or two
Or
boats,
2 boats.
or 3 boats,
Or 3
and jet,
boats.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
And I don't know how accommodating the commission feels like being. Again, it's a recreational vehicle.
Yeah.
It is an additional, if you can, there's the argument, if you can afford a boat, then maybe you can
Well,
afford
what's
a-
the history of complaints? I mean, what does that tell us, what are people complaining the most about?
Mostly, I'm getting complaints being parked of boats not in designated drives.
Okay.
One, I have an interesting one where the person is parking their boat on a private road, which really becomes an enforcement conundrum because it is, our regulation has setbacks from the property lines, but they're not on the property lines, they're on the road. So who would be the person who would receive that violation? The owner of the road, which means I would send it to the community at large that's calling me to complain about the boat being parked on their road. So we
oh, I could have fun with that one.
we kind of go full circle on
Yeah.
that.
And then, I wouldn't want more than one boat, say. Because we don't want someone to be like, hey, you know, buddy, you can put your boat over here, I got enough room. We don't want a boat, you know, parking lot.
Yeah, but that's.
How many people have more than one, how many people should have more than one boat?
Well, look, I'm gonna use,
How many boats
I'm
can
gonna
you drive
use
at
these
once?
pictures, because I know it's probably in here. There is a house down from this one
Yeah,
that has 3 boats and 2 jet skis.
Is,
They're from Jersey.
I guess if you look at it another way, is that any worse than having 6 cars?
Well,
You know?
it's six of
That's an
one, half
addition.
dozen of the other. And the reason why they keep their boats where they do, they're on the water, so literally, and their driveway goes down, and they can, in the springtime, they drop their boats, they stay on their pier the whole time. They pull them on their property, which technically they have carved out their little strip of grass, so they're not on the road, but they're stacking them up on.
so all 3 of their boats are theirs.
Yep.
I mean, there is an alternative for someone who has that, is to build a boathouse, go to First-Light and say, can I build a boathouse, and you can store them over winter in your boathouse.
Agreed. Or get just your pier. You know, they've got the elevated platforms that you drive your boat in, and in the summertime you spin it up. It's out of the water,
Yeah.
whether you cover it or
Winter,
not.
yeah.
Is there also maybe a rule that the boat that's parked in the driveway correctly has to be owned by the resident of the property? Or I guess that
I
you
would
run-
think that would be a good rule.
you run into
Right.
issues though. What
It
if the
is.
boat's owned by an LLC or something, but the person still uses it for personal use? You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how far into enforcement that we would get with that.
How would you
Yeah,
how would
that'd
you
be
check
tough.
how would you check
I like
the
the one
registration?
boat, one property
Mhm.
rule.
I still think it would be good though to have. I know it would be tough to enforce, but I think it would be good to have on the rule books that the owner of the boat that's being stored there has to be the resident of the property.
How about the ultimate beneficiary? Because that's the new rule that the government uses. There might be a bunch of LLCs and shell companies, but the beneficial owner
Yeah.
is the guy who, you know, benefits from.
But
through
but
that
again,
company.
going back to what Laura said, they don't have the mechanism to actually
Oh, go look
figure
it up.
out.
Just so if it became an issue, like say someone was storing a bunch of boats on their property, or they were storing, like and they were charging a friend to store it there. Or
Yeah,
something,
exactly.
You know?
Now, so understand that the way our regulations are now, you can have one boat or one trailer with something on it, one empty trailer, and 6 cars, all on the designated drive.
See, I'm thinking of combining those two. Here's the number of vehicles, whether they're land or sea.
That's an
These are the
interesting
number
concept.
that you are allowed
Look, that's
to
actually
have,
that's
Yeah.
actually a great.
you
Yeah.
know?
That is a different mechanism.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to accommodate. Hey, someone maybe just a boat person. They spend all
Yep.
their days and they can on the lake rather
Yeah.
than driving around. Let's allow that. But fine,
Yeah.
that's one less car you're going to be allowed to keep.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And, you know, when I see a lot of cars, all I think is these are people who have kids that have to live at home, and that's why there's 4 or 5 cars in the parking lot.
Yep.
But I like your
I
idea.
just don't want a situation where there's 5 boats in one car. You know.
But in the end, it's how much space are you taking on your on your land, right? All right, and how that affects the neighbors.
Now, coupled with that, would we want to restrict the size of the designated drive square footage to a percentage of the lot in general? So it doesn't become overwhelming to the property itself? So they don't do the whole front yard?
I don't know. I'm not one that worries about what my neighbors do. So, but then again, yeah, and we got fences. So, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
All right. Why don't,
I think the lot size makes a difference. We're talking
It does,
about.
yeah.
Well, no, we're talking 6 cars
Yeah.
on a lot. Whether it's 6 cars or
Yeah.
we split the baby and do 4 cars and 2 boats.
yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is my property can sustain 2 cars. 3 if I take my wife's and kind of wedge it between my son's and my car, and we push them all the way on the pedestal.
Yeah.
That's it. That's a max. Anybody else that comes to our house has to park in the street.
Right.
So whether I have a boat or not, whether I have other things, that's just a necessary evil. I live on a dead end, which is a good thing for me, but it's still a challenge regardless. And it's again, it's not unique to the shores. I think all the lake communities have that same problem. If you go up to Candlewood Lake Club, they have driveways, but some of those driveways are small. Some are huge, just like in the shores. There are some that are massive.
So maybe it's a natural restriction by the size of the house. There's only going to be so many people that can live there.
Right.
Therefore, so many cars and boats that can end up there.
Right. That's a possibility.
And so maybe creating a restriction on the designated drive, impervious or not, doesn't make sense because you're already restricted by how many people can live there.
Correct.
Yeah, tie it to number of bedrooms. I just trying to think of something, another approach, you know?
Now, they're already constrained with impervious, so they can't just be paving everything.
Correct.
They can put gravel in, and I don't know. I mean, designated drive, it could be paved or it could be, gravel, but it's definitely something hard. It's not grass.
Well, and this one is paved.
Yeah,
That's, like I said, it's an actual, they actually made a spot for the boat.
yeah.
I'm just out of curiosity, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but from what you've seen, the registration on the boats, are they all Connecticut registrations?
No.
Or have you seen? Okay, well then that could be the thing. The boat has to have a Connecticut registration.
You can't. And I'm going to give you the perfect example. My next door neighbor, who owns the house next door, his boat has New York license. And the reason why is his main house is in New York.
But where's
The boat goes in both locations.
Oh,
He fishes the Fox River out in Poughkeepsie in the spring. He brings the boat. He's on the lake all summer.
It's no different than a car without.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, as long as
And,
you're not
you
here
have
six-
a lot of especially
6
New
months.
York, you have a lot of New York
Yeah.
people
that's
that,
fair. Yeah.
again, whether they live in New York or they live in Manhattan, this is their summer house, so they come up here.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, are boats tied to your driver's license though, or
Nope.
are they? Okay, well then if the boat spends the majority of its time in,
it's wherever the sticker on the boat is wherever the boat's registered.
Well, so
like my
so
car,
like in Connecticut, yeah, the
Yeah.
car. If you're a Connecticut resident, spend more than 6 months here, you have to have your car registered in Connecticut.
Right, but-
so is it the same for boats?
No.
Where it's garaged.
No. And the reason why is when you license a boat, you license the boat. It's registered, you own the boat. Because the boat
Yeah,
is
just like a car. It's a vessel.
right, but you can only use a boat in New England or up north from May, maybe April, till October at the latest, because that things start to freeze and
No,
stuff
I
like that.
understand that, but,
But there's
where's
no-
it going to be garaged?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
from a
matter.
tax standpoint, how
Yeah,
do
yeah.
municipalities tax?
They tax it where it's registered. So
But that's
the
like
New
cars
York,
though.
right?
Yeah.
The New York tax
Mhm.
is they're paying taxes on the boat in New York, regardless. If
So
you-
they're
it was
ripping
registered
off
in
us
Ca-
Connecticut
So they'd have,
people
yeah, but they
because
can
they're not
re-register it.
So
Right.
I guess the question is there a regulation like cars that if you are garaging it in Connecticut for more than 6 months, you have to register in Connecticut?
No.
Well, I think we're getting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
In
So I
garaging,
think
if
it
you're
doesn't
storing
really
it
matter
over the
too
winter,
much
it's-
because we,
Again, you can store it anywhere, and
Yeah.
you're talking again.
like, you couldn't store your car anywhere.
You could.
No, I mean you have to go register it in the state you're storing it.
No.
Over 6 months. In Connecticut, you do.
I know, but
But it's
no,
not often done.
no.
Let's just be
Let me
honest.
rephrase that.
They're actually
Hard to enforce.
No, it's
but
right. It's
they're
how do
going
you?
around enforcing it.
The
Yeah.
tax
Right.
assessor is the one who would go after it as far as making sure it's registered,
Yeah.
so they get personal property taxes off of vehicles.
Correct.
But that's her enforcement job.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's where I was going with this.
And I don't know if we can enforce, where it's registered. So,
Yeah.
long
Right.
story short.
Okay.
And the
But I like the idea, but it would be similar to trying to find out who's the beneficial owner of a boat, Do they live there? Do they own the property too?
right.
So if we just say you can't have more than this many vehicles combined, though I do want to, I guess I do want something in there, at least the words, to let them know, we don't want you renting your property out.
Mhm.
Just like you can't have a parking lot you rent out, you can't do that either.
Well,
for
I guess
cars.
then would that already be in the zoning regulations though? Because like then it's a business use. If I'm renting
Yes,
parking.
you're absolutely right,
Mm-hmm.
yes, so we have a reg against that.
Okay.
We just have to find out about it.
Yep.
Does someone want to write up some some modifications to this, 3-10 to,
Come up with some ideas
Yeah.
and just jot them.
and then when we have more of the commission around, we could toss it around for there.
Sounds
Now,
good.
we do have a lot of regs coming up, with the, House Bill 5002, is that what it is? 8002, yeah, some big number. And some have to be done by July 1st, so,
So we have a time crunch, although those aren't as, the main thing we need to look at is, some of the, what is it, 16 plexes?
yeah.
What's that?
16 plex, so,
It was 16, right?
you know, yeah, from 1 to 15, they have regs, from 17 to up, they have regs.
The way they worded the bill, yes, they totally forgot to include 16 in anything. And there's a few inconsistencies, some things we don't have to worry about because we don't allow them as far as I've ever seen in our zoning regulations, such as hostile architecture, which would be, for example, like spikes on benches to prevent people from sitting,
yeah.
or like
Yeah.
underpasses.
Mhm.
And we don't really have that in Brookfield, so it's
Yeah.
not really an issue. I don't think we have to go particularly crazy.
Yeah.
But we do have to start locking in a process for some of the things that are more going to be fall under an administrative review. So hopefully by next meeting I can have a little bit more information on that. That was a lot of information to process.
Yeah, yeah. All right. The only other thing I had them print out was the cleaned up regs, possible regs for short-term regulations. And we had sent these out to Tom, to Redline. Those red lines are incorporated, all his changes in here. So the application for the reg change would mostly additions to our short-term regulation and some changes. All the additions or replacements are in green, and it's mainly adding more words to kind of tie down and tighten the process and what we allow. The definition of what short-term is, we actually went to 30 days. So let's see, no more than 30 days or in any 6-month period, with no more than 3 times. That was the, well, we always had 3 times. We had 14 days and under as a short-term. Now it's 30 days and under. But we wanted to capture more accurately the occupants, guests per bedroom. We didn't want to say adult because we were concerned about septic and sewer and all that. So anybody who's 12 and up, you know, we consider an occupant because they're going to generate sewage. And then not 6 people. So those 6 people max, it doesn't include children under 12. That was one of the main things. The other thing we added after looking at other regulations that other towns had was restricting it to lodging uses only, no party houses, no, you know, retreats. Parking, we tightened up, 1 parking space per bedroom. Everything must be parked, you know. So, and then the local property representative, we want someone there, someone available in case the police come by or the zoning officer needs to talk to someone. It could be someone on site or someone within 2 hours.
Someone that they designate to
Yep.
represent them? Yeah.
Yes, 24 hours, 24/7. Can't do deed restricted affordable housing as that. You can only do it to bedrooms that meet the minimum standards of our health code and building code. The other thing let's see, property for STRs must comply with all building, you know, gotta have a CO. 12, I only add, we talked about this, but they're only permitted in the zoning districts, R7 through R100. I mean residential, I'm sorry. thing we talked about was, do we want to do something different, you know, based on size, like R7s, it's very tighter in there.
Right.
Having, you know, do we want to change the number of times we want to do it for different districts? So that's something to discuss with the board. And if we want to have a table of how many times can you do it based on what zone you're in.
The frequency?
Frequency or something like that. So a restriction of some sort. How often do you, since you're living, you know, you're only on 7,000 square foot lots, basically, how often do you want your neighbor to be changing? You know, is it more impactful when you're closer together
That's
than
different
when
if
you're
you're-
further apart?
That's different if you're in a one zone as opposed to a larger zone?
Should it be?
Yeah, okay. I'm not-
So
Well,
that's
I'm
the
not
question.
following that,
Well,
yeah,
So,
okay.
because if you're, say in your shores, you
Mhm.
know, because we're talking about security and different people being there all the time,
Right.
because you're closer to them, is that more of an issue with security and everything? You know, you're tight in with your neighbor
Right.
versus on an R40 or R80
Right.
zone where you hardly ever see them.
We also, I know we mentioned it a couple times, but seasonal use, again, the lake communities in particular.
Yeah.
Do we want to carve out something specifically for properties around the
Well,
lake?
so that's where the attorney came back and said that would be difficult to do. It'd be better based on the zone.
Zone, okay.
And it turns out R7 is basically right on.
Oh,
at least
then that's
Candlewood
it.
Lake.
Then that answers the
That's
question.
what he
Okay.
suggested. What that would look like, don't know, because we had to discuss what, if we did anything based on the zone, what would it be?
I think we gotta have a good argument to restrict something in one zone as opposed to another though, right?
Yes,
You know?
yes,
That's what I'm thinking,
that's right.
You're right, there's gotta be a reason for it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I know of one, but.
I mean, the only ones I could think of, but I don't know if they're supportable, would be serenity, you know, noise and security.
Mhm.
You have different people coming through.
One thought on that, Mr. Chair, as well, is that the ADUs have a minimum lot size of an R40.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting that the short-term rentals have no minimum lot size, where you have, they're kind of conflicting in some ways. I do-
Except if you are renting the whole house out, it's
Mhm.
not really the same as an ADU.
True.
But I get your point.
It's just interesting concept, because some people might wanna rent out their ADU as the short-term
Term.
rental, and then you have,
Yes, kind of like a guest house with a
Mhm.
kitchen.
so, it's just things that have come up, just thoughts.
Because we don't want to restrict someone from, you know, using their property, or, you know, they might have bought it specifically to rent out on the lake.
Yep.
And then they use them themselves. We added the
Plus,
whole,
a lot of those houses were built to be seasonal to begin with.
yeah.
They were all
That's
built
right,
to be
that's-
seasonal. They're just not that way now.
I've like just from an enforcement standpoint, like, is there a legal definition of like a party or a reception? I mean, because we already are limiting the number of people that can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, how do you say they're having a party? It's like, well, how do you define a party? You know.
More than the people that are,
Deciding
they're on the permit to be there, so you know, you have a permit. Does it say how many people are?
Well, I guess it has to be like just.
You can't have more than 6 people.
People on the
Every lad is
property
a
at one
party.
time, you know,
Right.
rather than defining it as like the types of things that you could do, you know, like I'd say it just has to be limited to the number of people at any given time.
Well, it
Yeah.
would be exceeding the number of people.
6 plus their children.
Right.
But,
Depends on the type of party.
yeah, but you know, you can't advertise it. Remember the party that was up on Long Meadow Hill Road
No,
last
that's what I'm
year?
saying is like, how do we define that though? Because like if I have 2 friends and we're like having, you know, beer
I'm
or
gonna
something,
call the
like,
police.
is that a party? You know,
No.
I mean, you know what I mean? And we
Yeah.
have music
And
playing.
you know
know?
what, the reality is, usually these come up during enforcement.
Mhm.
And, I mean, because neighbor complaints. That's why we find out about it.
Okay.
What we're trying to do is, you know, have at least.
I mean, you could have 20 people doing a book club, that's not gonna make you crazy. You know?
Yeah, but if you rent a place to do
Yeah.
a book club, you can't do that.
Right.
Unless it's 31 days. That way you can
I'm
get
just,
through the whole
I'm
thing.
just thinking, is item B6 really necessary then? If that's, since we're already limiting the people, and we can, you know, it's kind of hard to limit the use. I mean,
Well, because actually down on 40 Hidden Brook Road,
Mhm.
that's what they're doing. They're having parties down there. The neighbors are complaining. This is in an R80 zone. Is that Hidden Brook is R80? So it's a large house, but they have a short-term rental that's illegal, and they're having people over and over come through there, renting all the time and being a disturbance.
Okay.
So it already is happening, and part of the enforcement was that I had sent an email out to the police and I guess Steve Dunn, the first selectman, asking if we do information sharing, and in order to help our enforcement part, because enforcement is difficult. How do you know? So we would share with them what are short-term rentals active at any time. So if they get calls for a noise complaint or something, hey, they know what to expect. You know? There's a representative they could call. You know, from the land use, they had the representative that they can call to figure out who's in charge here, basically. And then if they go on a call and it's not on the list, and then the person says, "Oh, I'm just renting the place," then they can tell us so we can start an enforcement action and a violation. So, because they're out there doing these things, we see all the police complaints on the Facebook that they have to do. So you hear about it, and we thought that would be a good resource to help enforcement, because enforcement's difficult. You know, sometimes Fran's got to go online and look for the Airbnbs in Brookfield and Verbos and stuff like that, and see, oh, have they come in? And that's time consuming. He's got, you know, more. He's got other things to do. He's kind of swamped.
A lot of that's issues of noise and such, though, right? And then it's frequency, right?
Well, that's
Yes.
it.
Noise is enforceable by police too, so it's nice to have the overlap.
Well, that's the hook.
Yeah.
The fact that it is a noise ordinance.
I mean, especially like New Fairfield, they finally came up with short-term regulations like in the last couple of years, but they've been dealing with issues, you know, naked people running around on the lake up there when the neighbors are like, what is going on here? Because they have big parties. And so they wanted to clamp down on that. Not that we have that in Brookfield, but, you know, we're trying to prevent that. The other thing was, the parking was kind of straightforward. The only thing I added, because we had talked about it in 2 meetings ago, was up-to-date certificate of insurance documenting that the dwelling unit is insured as a short-term rental. So I don't know if Greenwich had that or something else. So part of permitting and registration, so we know they have covered for any liability of hurting the neighbor, hurting themselves. And
Or if they have like pets or something and the pet bites a neighbor,
yeah,
you know,
So, I mean, it would behoove them to have renter's insurance anyway, if
Yeah.
they're gonna be renting it out. And some of these maybe require it, I don't know, Verbo and Airbnb. And then we have enforcement there. I don't think we had, all the things in green are new. Our original one was very short.
It was very short.
So I
It
say
was-
it's mostly green.
Yeah, it's mostly green. We just had the purpose, and we had, you know, B1, 3, 4, and 5, and that was it. So we wanted to put more teeth in the regulation, but we had to try to figure out how do we also enforce it, and what are other towns doing. So this is the culmination of that, and maybe we'll have one more pass-through with the full commission. And could I? You don't have the new form for this yet, do you?
For the short, for the regulation change?
Yeah.
We've drafted it.
Oh, you have.
We have.
Could
Yes.
I'll review it for you.
Thank you. I do
And-
need them all to be proofread. Don't worry, I can send them all to you if you like.
Well, you can start with that one,
Okay.
and then I'll put this on there, and then once we all decide, then we can get an activity number and apply to the land use office for it. And I think that's it. Yep. Any other commissioner comments or anything? So thank you all for coming. We just made our quorum because our quorum is now 4 instead of 3. And if anybody doesn't have anything else to say,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
thank you.
I'll
Tony.
second.
Thank you, Mark. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And